So, good morning, folks. This is Saturday morning. I think it's the 31st of January, just about the end of it. So, today we'll talk about. Basically, we'll talk about it in the sense of compassion and metta, but before we do that, we need to discuss the setting for it, because metta and karuna, upekkha, and mudita were all practiced before the time of the Buddha, and that when the Buddha put it together for himself, he was able to draw things from the society and the culture to put them to proper use. But the main frame of reference is to be changed. Now, before the time of the Buddha, all we had was ordinary life, ordinary, mundane, everybody's got it, and that the way of thinking then is always outside. So, not inside the mind. So the Buddha made that change from inside or from the outside to come in. Now, on the outside is authority figures, agents. Let me explain what I mean by agency. If you have good and bad karma that gets good and bad result, who or what is it that determines what is good result and bad result so as to deliver that experience to the person? That would be called an agent. And I often refer to it as the karma machine. But there are all kinds of agents. An example is that when one prays, they're praying to some agent. If you have hope, like I hope things get better, you're hoping to an agent. Also, within the Mahayana tradition, using metta, they talk about may all beings be happy, but they're using it in the ordinary sense of who is determining the all, who's keeping track. This is what I mean by an agent, and that agent then has various names. I gave it to karma machine. Other people call it God or some sort of authority figure that's outside of oneself. But you can see then that a casino operates with an agent. In the casino, many people call it Lady Luck, but it's some sort of agency that's going to give them the win in the poker or the roulette or whatever game that they're playing in the casino. This is an ordinary way of looking at it because they see the world out there and they see then agency out there, some big agent, to where the difference is that when one comes out of the world and into the mind, we begin to see that any agency is already there in the mind. And this is the major change. In AA, they talk about a higher power. That's appealing to an agent. And the higher power almost always is referred to as God or some sort of external agent, to where really any higher power is basically a skill that someone develops in order to resist alcohol. So we need to make sure that we're looking at the frame of reference. Now, the frame of reference then, in ordinary language, that's where you find magic, you find ritual magic, etc., is trying to influence some agent to do something for the individual. And so external agency is an important part. You could call it supernatural. Supernatural. Now, I'm using the word supernatural as an ordinary word, to where inside the mind we use the word supramundane, which means above the mundane world, out of the world. And this is the way that we have to make that change, because you have been trained, each one of you, for your whole lives to look on the outside. And so the skills that we need to develop, like sati, is to remember to be here now, to be here in this present moment. Now is what's happening in this present moment, as opposed to the mundane world is all about the past and especially the future. That's where the agent comes in, is something that's going to happen in the future, including almost all spiritual work, including Western meditation, and most of either Hindu or Buddhism is always concerned about an enlightenment that's in the future, as opposed to lightening up right now. And so this is the major change in thinking, and we have to remember on a regular basis to come out of the past and future, to come out of ordinary, mundane hope, fear, etc., like that, and come into this present moment, because this present moment, in fact, is generally not dangerous. The dangers are almost always invented in the mind based upon the past and the future, based upon ordinary reality. Now, one of the things that can be said is that before the time of the Buddha, 100% of all human experience was ordinary. Once the Buddha came along, there was a spark, and one person, he spread that to others, and throughout all of history, there has been a handful of nobles. When I say a handful, we're talking about maybe a few thousand at any one particular time in history, but that few thousand is minuscule compared to the hundreds of thousands, millions of people who still live in an ordinary life. So let's look at it just as an example would be like 99%. 99% of all human thought, including thoughts of budding nobles, is almost all is ordinary. And occasionally we practice to become noble. And when we practice over and over and over again, we begin to make that change into seeing things right here, right now, in a liberating way. Now, there is a sutta that talks about the ocean. Just as the ocean is gradual, it goes down and down like on a continental shelf, and then it drops off deep. So that's also true for the noble. Once you enter the noble ocean, the noble stream, it's going to get deeper and deeper as you practice. And then all of a sudden, woof, the bottom drops out, and you're totally in the ordinary world is gone, and you're living in the world of noble thoughts. So once we recognize that we can make that transition, and we do it one thought at a time, now we can begin to add techniques. And one of the techniques that the Buddha gave was the technique of these Brahma Viharas, which is they existed before the time of the Buddha, that all the religions have these Brahma Viharas, especially compassion. Both Christianity and Mahayana Buddhism are both very big on compassion. They're also big on metta, especially Mahayana, but that's always on the outside. An example of the practice would be, may all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. Well, that's actually appealing to that agent. This is an ordinary practice, all beings, because who's going to determine when all beings are happy? The better thing to look at is that, can we bring happiness into the mind right to now? If we're going to start with all beings be happy, how about this one? Where do we start? This is actually how we bring this ordinary practice of metta and compassion into the mind. Compassion, for example, would be to see things as harmless. Now, compassion is almost always in our culture, Christian, Mahayana, Buddhist, and other places like that, is compassion means to act, to do something in the benefit of another person. But the Buddha says, no, have a mind of compassion. Have a mind of compassion has no action to it. It's just having a mind that is free from uh, harmfulness. That in fact, the best compassion that you can have is to have compassion for one's own mind. Now, we can see that most people, when they start to practice anything at all, they fuss at themselves when they make a mistake. That's not being compassionate. That's being critical. And we often then use the word here to make it nurturing. So if you're nurturing yourself, that's the same as being compassionate to yourself. The same thing with metta. Friendliness begins here. Charity begins at home. If you can be friends with yourself, then it's easier to be friends with other people on the outside. This is the major change in the teaching, that metta and compassion, karuna, sympathetic joy, and equanimity have always been part of religion, part of human existence. But the Buddha took them and brought them inside. The same thing was true, by the way, with mental states like the jhanas, that the Buddha brought them from the outside on to the inside. And the way that he talked about the jhanas was to have a pleasant abiding, to be in a pleasant state of mind. So when we're talking about compassion, the word compassion, when we think of it, when people talk about it, they're almost always talking about it. Mr. A has compassion for Mr. B, and therefore he's going to do something beneficial for Mr. B. The question is, what is the motivation for Mr. A's compassion? If his motivation, an example would be a rich lady gives a quarter to a street bum because she doesn't like the street bum and she wants to be rid of him. He wants him to stop asking for money, and so she gives him some money just to shut him up. Is that compassion? Well, she gave him a quarter. Is it that compassion enough? Maybe she gave him $1. How about $10? How much money does the rich lady have to give the street bum in order for it to become compassion? The answer is always, it's not about the money and it's not about the giving. It's about the attitude of the giver. This is the change that I'm making for you today, is to stop looking at compassion on the outside. Stop looking at friendliness. In fact, the Dalai Lama had a phrase that in the 1980s became a bumper sticker in the West, in the US. And the bumper sticker said, "My religion is kindness." Now, he was referring to metta, and that often metta is referred to as loving kindness, but putting the word loving in there is kind of Christian, that in fact the real word that we're looking for is kindness. And the word kindness has the word kind in it, which actually is similar to the word kin. We look at it and we see that it's a part of our tribe. It's us. So if we look kindly on a person, then we look on them as if they were in my group, part of my family. So the question then, can we bring that kindness into our own mind? Now, when a tiny infant is born, there is an instinct called bonding or motherly love. And that motherly love is actually quite powerful, and it's quite beautiful. And in fact, the story is that on maternity wards, all the staff will come into the girl's room just at the point in time when the nursing staff give the infant to the mother, and she bonds with that child, and everybody is really happy and weepy because they feel that bonding happen. But here's the question: how long does that bonding last? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Generally not longer than 3 years. By the time the kid's 3 years old, he's already gone through the terrible twos, and now mom is more likely to smack him than she is to kiss him. She has changed from being a nurturing mother into a critical mother, a critical parent. And then the child spends most of his life around his parents when he's young with that critical parent, and the nurturing parent was long lost in his early life. So what a practitioner of the Dhamma does is move that mother inside of our own head back out of her critical state of wanting things to be done right and move it into the nurturing. Now, another example that I want to bring up with this is the idea of morality or sila, that in fact almost always morality and sila is taught with the critical parent. Thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not do this, that, and the other thing. These are the rules, you got to abide by them. Now, one of the things about the ordinary path is that in fact it is gradual, and that there are as many things in the sutras about a gradual versus a sudden path. The Buddha taught a sudden path. Right now, you can change from that critical parent into that nurturing parent. Right now, you can drop all your worries, all your woes, all your problems, and be okay and be happy right now. That's the real teaching of the Buddha. So, whenever we see the gradual path generally has sila coming first. I mean, after all, if we didn't have any morality at all in a culture, the culture would fall into barbarism, and everybody gets killed off. It's kind of like a war scene. And so morality is the antidote for the war, but on the outside. And so we teach morality to the children, and then they follow the rules. The problem is that sila, that morality, always stays on the outside. When the morality comes on the inside, in fact, it doesn't come in. The way that morality operates in the noble mind is first we need to drop the morality altogether, because that's where the critical mind comes from. once the mind is noble, once the mind is in a state of happiness and joy, once the mind is in a state where you don't want anything, then how can you possibly go around hurting people? How can you steal? How could you kill? How could you tell lies, etc., like that, when you don't want anything? So the real outcome of morality, when it's taught in the ordinary way, is always spotty. It never really works, and it is not changing one from being moral into being noble, being supramundane. This is why it's called a gradual path. The problem with the gradual path is it always stays in shallow water, if it gets wet at all. So by practicing having a mind that is free, by practicing Sita Bhumuti, which is actually freedom from the mind in Pali, there is where the karuna, compassion, really comes in the sense of being free from the bossy mom inside your mind, being free from the criticism, be nurturing with yourself. That in fact, compassion in the Buddhist frame is non harmfulness or harmlessness. To see others with compassion means that you have to see yourself with compassion. To be friendly and kind to people on the outside, you must actually first practice to be kindly and friendly on the inside of one's mind. Otherwise, compassion becomes a rule, like sila. You should be compassionate. You should give out food. You should feed the masses. You should give that beggar a quarter. This is the way that compassion is normally taught, is taught as a rule, which is ordinary. But when we see things nurturing, when we can see that everything is beautiful on the inside of the mind, then where is the compassion? The compassion is built in to the mind. Now, one of the old examples that I would give is, imagine that you and a friend were standing on, let us say, a fairly large fishing boat out at sea, heavy seas, heavy weather, and your friend falls overboard. And there he is flailing in the ocean saying, "Can you please help me?" What are you going to do? Are you going to jump overboard with him? No. At best, you can throw him a lifeline, but don't jump overboard with him. So that means that when you, with a compassionate mind, happy on the inside, and you meet someone who is in a misery state, that normally what we do is we commiserate with them, and then in fact we join their pity party. This is compassion in the West. There, you can feel better now because I'm hurting too. That in fact I'm taking your pain and feeling it myself. So now you only have to have half the pain that you used to have. This is kind of mentality of the ordinary. But the better way is to be friendly and happy with the person who is in a misery party. Join them with friendship, join them with happiness, join them with joy, and invite them to come out of their misery. Tease them a little bit. I remember when we were talking about this with Anna years ago. Anna would say, "Yeah, if I do that, I'm going to piss them off." The answer is they were already pissed off. So the question is, when you are happy with someone who is miserable and they don't like it because you're happy and they're still miserable, are you now going to do what they want you to do and you become miserable too? Or are you going to maintain your joy, maintain your happiness, and continued to invite them out of their misery. This is real compassion. Real compassion is when you stay in that happy mind. So this is the main point that we're making here today is metta and karuna or compassion are ordinary things that are taught in the ordinary society for ordinary people to deal with. But once we take on the Dhamma practice, we're changing that from an external practice to an internal practice so that you're compassionate with yourself rather than critical on yourself. If you're critical with yourself, you're going to be critical to other people. If you're friendly to yourself, you're going to be friendly with other people. And so we almost always, especially as we are just beginning to practice the Dhamma, not practicing it, let us say solidly, we're doing it quite haphazardly, maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day, or maybe 5 or 10 minutes a week, or whatever like that, then it's very easy when we're around ordinary people to fall back into the ordinary mindset. This is why the Buddha recommended seclusion. Get away from ordinary people so that you can practice and bring your mind into a happy state so that you can then deal later, because you can maintain your happy state. You can go back and deal with the ordinary world and deal with it happily. Now, let me introduce a new word, and that is upekkha. In the ordinary world, upekkha can be defined as the following. Many professions, especially service professions, like doctors, sometimes lawyers, especially doctors, nurses, social workers, and teachers have a situation that is called burnout. What that actually means is that they are going to burn out because their mind is already on fire long term. An example of that is the doctor who is a friend. In fact, the doctors are highly recommended. Do not treat your own family members. Do not even treat your own personal friends. Send them to another doctor. Why? Because if the doctor cares too much, then he's going to become miserable too. So if the doctor is treating his father and his father dies, how's that doctor going to feel? The same thing happened, by the way, with COVID, that a lot of nurses had burnout, partly because they were catching the disease themselves because they were treating the disease. So think about it like that. When you're treating a diseased mind, you're most likely going to catch that disease. This is normal compassion. You have to have a very high quality mind to be able to treat a diseased mind, an unhappy mind, without catching that disease. This is the real compassion. The real compassion is to be able to treat someone without catching their disease. And so the nurses had burnout. Another group that has a lot of burnout is social workers. Social workers have a lot. Why? Because their clients almost never do what the social worker recommends. And the social worker doesn't like that. The social worker starts with compassion and says, oh, well, here, you go down to this agency and sign up for that and get these benefits. And then the client comes back, no, I didn't go down to that agency. No, I didn't sign up for their benefits. And now what is the social worker going to think? Well, it depends upon whether they're balanced in their mind or whether they're tilting towards a particular outcome. And that's where burnout comes from, is because the doctors, they want a result. Another group that actually has, is very strange about police, is because the police will take their violence home with them. That is quite common for domestic violence to happen with police. And also, they get away with their violence until they go too far. And so it would be actually, you could say that these kind of professions, especially being a police, is not a noble profession because one cannot practice being noble while being a cop. That's also true about judges, that a judge has to dole out dukkha. But a noble is not going to dole out dukkha. Therefore, a judge, when he finds the Dhamma, he would more than likely, for a short period of time, wrestle with that, and then he'll quit being a judge to stop judging other people. Why? Because there's always going to be one side or the other who is going to be the victim of your judgment. So a noble is not going to have professions like being a police, carrying a weapon. A noble is not going to be a judge. That in fact, the best profession that a noble can have is no profession at all. Because almost every profession that I know of is going to harm someone some way or another. The question is, can you practice whatever job you have without harming other people? An example would be a nurse. Someone comes in with a severely broken arm or leg or something, and that it's got a lot of dirt in it. And the nurse says, oh, we've got to clean that wound. And she's going to get that dirt out no matter what, including no matter how much the patient screams in pain. The dirt is the more important thing for the nurse to get out. So she's not being compassionate at all. In fact, if she were really compassionate, she probably wouldn't get the dirt out at all. She'd leave the dirt in there because it's too painful to get rid of the dirt. But in fact, the body can heal itself and push the dirt out eventually. But many young nurses says, oh, we've got to clean that wound. We got to get it clean no matter how much damage she's doing. Well, isn't that the same thing that a judge is doing? He's trying to set things right. He's trying to get the dirt out, not recognizing how much damage he's doing. The same thing is true with police. And so there's a lot of professions that actually cause more harm than good. And when one has a noble mind, we would say it's better to not have that kind of profession. Let's have a profession where we do not harm others in any way at all. This is what leads to right livelihood in what the Buddha taught, is harmless. Whatever you're doing, you're not harming another person. This is real compassion, but that kind of compassion comes from within the mind. If you're compassionate with yourself, then by being compassionate with yourself, you're going to be compassionate with others. If you're really compassionate with yourself and others, you're not going to hold a job then that actually causes other people harm. So this is the real compassion, is the compassion that is joyful, happy, non-harmful, is easygoing. But this is to be practiced because we have been trained in ordinary compassion. We have been trained to fix the situation no matter how much harm we do while we're fixing the situation. So this requires practice. And the best way to practice it is go to the foot of a tree, go to an empty house or an empty hut, go to the forest, go camping, get away from society, get into a state where the mind is free from criticism, free from harm, free from harmfulness. Having a mind that's free means that we're not trying to fix anything, that things are already okay. There's two ways of talking about it. Mahaboa, Ajahn Mahaboa, who died in 2012, is very famous on YouTube. It's still there. It's in Thai language, but he talks about the world as a toilet. Now, when he's talking about the world as a toilet, what he's really saying is that the students who are listening should get away from the world, not that the world is actually a toilet. Well, it is, but that's because there's a lot of toilet minds in the world. But if you have a mind that's free from that, then you can see the world as it's okay. It's not your problem. Right now, for instance, there's a lot of hot politics. There's a lot of hot wars. There's a lot of warming wars with Venezuela and Greenland, and politics all over the place is fairly hot right now. The answer then is for you to stay away from that heat and see the world instead from a distance, because you know that heat radiates only so far. If you're far enough from the world, if your mind is noble enough, really noble enough, that means then you can see the world as a happy place. Why? Because that's your happiness that you're actually seeing. You cannot actually see the world. That the world that you're actually talking about is the one that you made up. Just like that statement of may all beings be happy. Where's the all? The all is in your mind. We made that up. It's better to start making up some happy thoughts about the world. That, well, Trump's all right. We'll get over him. There's enough people who hate Trump. Why should I hate him too? Is my hatred going to make things better, or is it going to make my mind worse? So it's better just to leave politics alone. Don't look at the world as something that needs to be fixed. In that regard, I'm saying don't have compassion for the world, have compassion for your own mind. Don't try to fix the world. The world don't want your fix. The world only wants to do what the world is going to do. Your job is to be compassionate within your own mind, to see that I don't hold any hatred for the outside world. I'm not trying to fix the world. I don't see it as broken, needing to be fixed. That's what ordinary compassion is. Real compassion, the compassion within one's mind, is the world's not broken. Everything is okay. Everything is fine. Everything is all right. And if you can approach the world that everything is good, everything is fine, then some of that might begin to rub off on the world. But if you go with the attitude the world is broken and I'm going to fix it, you're just adding more brokenness to the world. You're going to find resistance. So the best way to do it is to find that joy, that happiness within your own mind and keep it. And keeping it means to associate with others that have that joy. That's what Sangha, a noble Sangha, is all about, is that your friends are there to help you stay noble, as opposed to the friends in the ordinary world is to try to pull you out of nobility and do things the way they want you to do. Their compassion for you is to make you fixed by being like them. That's the way that everyone sees compassion in the ordinary way. Is, oh, if he would only be like me, let me go fix him so that he's like me. Christians, I want, Christians say, oh, abortion is bad, therefore we're going to make a law to make abortion bad, no matter how many people they hurt, because abortion is bad. Or everybody should be a Christian. May all beings be Christians, in fact. And so they're out there banging on the doors and trying to convert everybody. And how do they feel when the people don't want to hear what the Christians have to teach. The Christians will feel bad because they're supposed to gather in the sheaves. They're supposed to get a lot of Christians. But the noble way is to let the Christians be all by themselves. Be happy with them. Christians are okay people. Everybody's all right. Not a problem in the world. This is a mind that's compassionate, real compassion. Be friendly with the world. Because after all, that's where you are. Why not be friendly with the world you're in? Why do we have to be angry at the world? Because it's not doing the way we want it to. So instead, we can just allow the world to be without us adding our own dissatisfactions. So we practice then, and this is a real practice. We have to practice over and over and over again to remember to come out of the world, to remember to come out of the past. Now, some religions, like Christianity, are very big on forgiveness. What is that? That means to get over the past. Well, if you don't remember, if you've forgotten the past, then there's no forgiveness is unnecessary. The better thing to do is to forget rather than to forgive. And that's especially true with yourself. So if you catch yourself doing something wrong, instead of trying to forgive yourself for it, because forgiveness actually is part of the critical parent, I don't like you, but I'll tolerate it somehow. The better way is to say everything is already okay. If I catch myself doing wrong, we can say, aha, I see that. And so we see our own wrongdoing happily. But we have to practice that over and over again. Over and over and over again. This needs to be practiced because we already have deep habits of being ordinary. So we have to practice being noble, practice being loving, practice being kind, practice being compassionate to ourselves, being generous to ourselves, being nurturing to ourselves. And if you practice that over and over and over again, being nurturing to yourself, then you can become nurturing to others. Red, this is something that you were talking about earlier. You couldn't remember how to do it in the heat of the moment. Well, guess what? The heat is not in the moment. The heat is in your own mind. So as soon as you can see that heat, maybe this is the time to stop that conversation and go back into seclusion, go back into that empty hut and get the heat out of the mind. Become nurturing. It says, I don't have to fix that guy. He's okay like he is. He's disagreeable and he doesn't agree with me is only because your own mind is in that state of disagreement. You're the one who sees the disagreement. And so we can come out of our disagreeableness. That's actually the whole point of compassion, is to come out of our disagreeableness and see our own mind as okay, just like it is, not a problem in the world. And then by good practice over and over again, we can begin to see that that person we were in conversation with is okay also. Not a problem. So, what do you think, Gigi? This one's for you today anyway.
It's wonderful. I was just telling my husband he'd be really happy that that's no, I'm very happy.
Yes, you be happy. That's your compassion. When you
Yes.
meet other people who are not happy, Your job is to remain happy.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm listening. I'm taking it in.
So,
Yeah,
Anna,
sorry about the background noise.
I don't hear anything. I hear a dog. That's my background noise. So, Anna, I saw you lift your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. My last retreat in the end of the year was Brahma Vihara. And everything went beautifully until I get to equanimity my first time. I mean, like somehow I was able to differentiate between the stages. And I really didn't like myself. I everything was wrong with everybody and with me. So in just then it took me, I mean, of course I was able to function because I was able to come back, but it took me a month to come back to my normal state that I feel I'm a human. So what's wrong with me or with the meditation or what exactly happened? Why I was so angry? So this I guess the anger they talk about. But what happened?
All right. I would say, since I was not there, I'm guessing, but almost all retreats are ordinary, taught by ordinary people about ordinary compassion, ordinary things. And
No,
that,
they are good monks. They are good monks with a practice for 35 years. So I would not say they're very ordinary. So they kind of was able to keep it, no, not very ordinary, I would say.
all right. So if they were not ordinary, why would you be ordinary? Because that was your reaction, was being ordinary. You didn't like being in that state of upekkha, being balanced. But in fact, I use the word dynamic balance, that everything is okay, even though the floor is moving under your feet. And that what we think of as upekkha is being able to make the floor level and flat so the walking is easy. The story that I would tell about it is because I was in the Navy. We learned even on large ships that there is a certain amount of movement. Now, when I say a large ship, I'm not talking about a cruise liner that's got 5 or 10,000 people or a carrier. I'm talking about a tin can, a destroyer that moves a lot, and we have to gain sea legs. What that means is that the floor is not stable, but you can still walk because you are not being thrown out of balance. And so you were thrown out of balance when they talked about being in balance because you didn't like it. And so perhaps the right thing to do at that stage would be to go back and have compassion for yourself. Compassion is, oh, I can handle that. Oh, everything is already okay. That, yeah, I'm thrown out of balance and I crashed and hit the deck. Never mind. I could just lay here on the floor for a while and enjoy myself. But instead, you didn't like being tossed around. And so this is the way that we would practice would be, this is why seclusion is so valuable, is because with seclusion, nothing is happening. The only out of balance is the out of balance is within one's own mind. And in retreat settings should be the same. So there they are teaching you about balance, and you don't like it. You're throwing yourself out of balance because you don't believe that you have the balance, rather than just saying, okay, everything is all right. There's nothing out of balance other than my own mind, and I see that out of balance. If you could see your own out of balance then you could make that change. This is what the Eightfold Noble Path is about. We haven't talked about it today, but to be able to remember to be here now and to look at the fact that the mind is out of balance so that you can make that change. And the change would be, okay, the mind is out of balance. Never mind. I'll have fun while it's out of balance, rather than being angry that the mind is out of balance. So the floor moved. You didn't have the equilibrium, and so you fell down. Well, guess what? The best place for you is lying on that floor, because now you can relax. Even though the floor is going back and forth like that, you can't fall any further. You're already on the floor. That's a wonderful place to be. But no, we have to tell ourselves, oh, you've got to get up. So you were critical on yourself, saying, oh, you should be balanced. So this is the way that we can plan this thing is that, so what if you were thrown for a loop? So what if you were out of balance? Enjoy the floor. You don't have to get up because you fell down. Just enjoy the floor. Later, after you've enjoyed the floor, you can begin to enjoy standing up again. Does that make sense for you? All right. So, Matt, what do you think?
Hey, Dhammarato, great talk. I really enjoyed the image at the end of like walking on a ship that's moving and then just like falling over and I don't know, busting my face on something and being like, ah, never mind, I could just lay here happily on the floor. Yeah, totally. So I think what I'm taking is like a lot of these topics that we bring up in these talks, we always come back to practice, like how it ties into some sort of noble interpretation of practicing. And so I like the reframing the compassion as self-compassion. It seems like a lot of like practicing is boiling down to like being kind to oneself.
Yes,
Uh,
that's it.
yeah.
How can you be kind to other people when you're rough on yourself? Rough on ourselves is our habit. So that's the habit that needs to be changed. Stop being critical and being kind, nurturing to yourself. And then when those other people come along, you can be kind and nurturing to them because you've developed new skills. And those new skills did not come instantly. They had to be practiced over and over and over again. But every time you're practicing in that particular moment, you're okay. But we gain those skills so that when turbulence comes, we can still be okay. Even if the turbulence is so strong that it throws you onto the floor. Okay, now I can just be on the floor and still be okay. Oh, we got a lot of people. Amar, what do you think?
I think this talk came at perfect timing because I was arguing about politics back and forth with my friend for a long time today, and then she had just sent me something, um, continuing the argument, like some videos and stuff, and I was like, "What am I doing? I don't need to do this. I could just be happy." So I just told her, "Look, I'm not going to watch those." But you can have it. You win whatever. You want to go play tennis tomorrow? And she was like, yeah, let's just go play tennis. And now I'm just back to being happy. And it's just funny that there was like, what was the point of any of that? There's just zero point in any of it.
The
So
point
it's just
was
kind of
is that
funny.
it's an old habit. That's the
Yes.
point to remember. The point is that all of our frustrations, worries, arguments, and wanting to fix the world is an old habit that we picked up sometime around the age of 3, 4, 5 years old. And the best thing to do is to go back in time, back to the time when we're just an infant and everything is being taken care of. Everything is all right.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
How about you, B? What do you think?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. There was something that was stated about the whole balance thing, and I think we can only ever strive for it. I actually like the word tempered more, and I think it's kind of like how steel like works, where it's going through all these like cooling and heating cycles. So it's kind of like what you were mentioning about it being dynamic, right? I think that's what really happens when you're seeing clearly. And when you were talking about compassion and kindness, I really appreciated the some of the, I guess, misunderstandings that can come with that when you first hear it within the whole Dhamma space. And I've always had an issue with it because I'm like, wait, what? It's like, I don't want to coddle people when they're upset, like if they're being upset about silly things or whatever. So I appreciated that whole story of, like why jump into the water, like throw them a line, invite them to come back to the other side. So that was cool. Thank you.
In the sutras, it talks about it in 3 ways. When someone is in a bad state, your job is to maintain your happiness, your calm. Now, in the world is a dynamic place. The world is up and down and back and forth, and arguments and wars and all kinds of things are happening. This is why it's so valuable to get away from it all so that you can get your own
Yeah.
mind balanced. Once you
And
bring that balance in, then you can kind of test the waters to see how turbulent they are and can you maintain your balance. And then you go back
yeah.
and reestablish your balance over and over and over again. And when you gain real skill with it, you can go into a dynamic situation and maintain your balance.
Yeah, because you're able to see so clearly. It's kind of like what happens is there's this kind of a tension where you see what's happening, you see what's not happening, and then at the same time there's almost there's what is it that what is the word I'm looking for? You're also kind of giving these spaces, like these pauses, so that what comes next is much more intentional, right? And I think that's where, like, how, like, what when you're doing meditation or just being like giving more thought to kindness, and obviously like what's within is what you'll be able to like put out, and it's reflective, right? Like it goes back and forth. So I get that I appreciate that. That makes sense to me.
Excellent. Excellent. Mr. Ben, what do you think? He's chill. Navid. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Hey, yeah, thanks for the call, Dhammarato. Yeah, here and now is the only moment that we can cool off and be chill. So, and just enjoy doing it, enjoy practicing it over and over.
Yes, and the world's dynamic doesn't matter. That in fact, when the mind becomes really stable, we can see the world is actually stable also. that really all of that dynamic that I was mentioning before is still within one's own mind. That
Yeah,
the world
and
is
just
not
not making up the
dynamic at all.
story.
It's just, there it is, and it's already okay all by itself. No need for me to intervene.
Yeah, no need to make up stories about it. The eye's
Yeah,
seeing something, the eye's just seeing something. It's not a problem.
right. That all the world's problems is just a story I told myself.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
so thank you
Navid,
for pointing it out yet again, Dhammarato.
good bit. Navid, what do you have to say?
Yes, sir, Dhammarato and friends. Dhammarato, it's like you speaking directly to me. I don't know how you do this. You're some kind of magician, but I want to ask you, how much more happier can you make me be? Because every week I get happier and happier.
Not my fault. You're doing it all. Up to you, my
It's
friend.
amazing. It's amazing. It is amazing.
But listening to the Noble Dhamma is very valuable. Listening to the Noble Dhamma over and over and over again is of enormous value, especially when you take it away from the talk that we're having now and go practice that Noble Dhamma out in your own seclusion. This is really something you'd hear me say every call, that we have to practice being noble. We have to practice being in the present moment, because we've been trained by the world to be dynamic. And so now we have to practice being safe, secure, comfortable, satisfied over and over again. Safe, secure, comfortable, and satisfied. So you keep practicing. You keep practicing. Don't blame it on me. So, RJ, what do you think?
Hey, Dhammarato. Yeah. So I was throughout the call, but I heard maybe 2% of the things. But even that is a lot already. Um, Today was different kind of day. I got some news which is like a little bit changing worldly things, life setup for me. So I'm in thoughts, and yeah, I keep bringing myself to reality. Um, and it works, but I'm a lot in thoughts. But even then, attending this call, and I got some out of it, and that helped a lot. Like the example you told, where if you fall and then you can enjoy the floor, and then when you get up you can enjoy standing up. So
Mm-hmm.
that answered my question that I was going to ask, that what to do if things are like not expected. You get something which you never expected, let's say from people or situation. So I got the answer there.
Very good. Very good, RJ. Samantha, my goodness, so friend, where have you been? I'm so happy to see you. I can see you now. I see your microphone is on, but I don't hear you.
Thing is a setting. Can't hear.
Yeah, I know Samantha's there. I can see her. I think she's in her car. Never mind, we can't hear you. That's all right.
You can
Okay.
you can type in the chat if you want, Samantha.
So, Timo, what's happening, man?
Nothing much. just hanging out, enjoying the call. Thank you very much.
All right. Let's see. We got a couple of new people. Hello, Che. Glad to see you on the call.
She's sleeping. Like I don't know. Like she says she won't be able to talk. Like yeah.
All right. So, what do you have to say, Ivan?
Not much. Just appreciate the noble Dhamma. Like when you talk about like the ordinary conversation in the world, sometimes if not careful, it kind of drags you back into that kind of thing. I see the same too in ordinary Buddhism. I have to get away from. No, yeah, it's nice every time I come back here. Thank you.
Never mind. Start again. Oh, Capcarn. Welcome, friend. Good to see you. What do you have to say? Does anybody know that symbol that he's got there?
Yeah, he says hi in the chat. He also I think has no mic or camera working.
I would like to mention, do you see that object that he has that has kind of a triangle and a circle? Mikey, do you know what that thing is?
Not a clue.
It's what you put on a 45 record to make it fit a 33 RPM spindle. So you can play 45s. Yes, Gigi, what?
I was going to propose like a thought exercise, if you could walk us through it on how to apply. So say there's a group of friends or a Sangha of friends, a group of friends that are spiritual friends, right? I'm going to just give a scenario. There's a group of friends that are going on a trip. And one of the friends already lives in that location that they're going on a trip on. And this friend says, I'm not going to split the costs of the place that we're going to rent because I already live there. Let's just say that this is
that. Your friend said you're.
Right. Oh, am I cutting out too much?
No, my hearing is cutting out too much. Go ahead.
Okay, there are a group of friends that are going to go on a trip together. And one friend says that they're not going to split the cost of the home that everyone's going to rent to go on this trip together because that friend lives in that location. Now, say a few members in that group already know that this person's sila or morality is a little off. But what happens in the trip is that person says they're not going to put any money towards the place that we're renting, but they still end up staying at the place every single night. How do you practically work with that within a Sangha where you're trying to, so when we say, sometimes it's so easy to say, it's just a story arising in consciousness that this person should have had more morality or should have done anything, and maybe it's just a story arising in Gigi's consciousness. But what I've seen is that is such an incredible way to bypass discernment that this is wrong. It's as simple as that. What happened was not okay. And that's where I constantly see the confusion in spiritual groups.
All right. Okay. Now, that she is wrong is in your mind. that she is right is in her mind. Okay.
Okay.
And that one of the ways that you can handle it is by saying, okay, you'll pay her share. If you
For
pay
the
her
rest
share,
of the
in
group?
fact, yeah, to the rest of the group, you can say, or the whole group, you can say, I'll pay her share. She doesn't want to pay. I'll pay it. Then, in fact, you could possibly go so far as to talk with other people to get them to chip in to pay her share. So, otherwise, everybody's going to wind up feeling bad. She's going to feel righteous, but she doesn't like the fact that other people are accusing her. So she feels bad. You feel bad because you want her to be moral, etc., like that. So everybody winds up feeling bad. The way to feel
Right.
good is for you to say, okay, I'll pay her share. That may, in fact, teach her a lesson, and she'll come up and say, oh, no, you don't have to pay my share. I'll pay my share. But if you tell her she's got to pay her share, she's not. She will rebel and resist.
Yeah,
But
you know, I didn't even ask her to pay her share. I said it would have been really nice if you would have just been honest about it and just said something about it instead of staying overnight after night without saying anything, even though we've talked about it already.
well, she expects you to pay her share, so go ahead and pay it. Don't try
Yeah,
to
okay,
fix
so there
her.
you go. So there you go. There you go. What you just said is so good. You said that she actually expects other people to do things for her, which is absolutely correct. It's absolutely correct. But I guess what I've used to do, Dhammarato, in the past is over caretake. And like you said, in the first time we talked, you said you just have to learn when to tell people to take a hike. And I love that. That was so funny.
Actually, the
So
way
I'm
that I
trying
would
to
say it,
learn.
I wouldn't say it that way. Instead of telling somebody else to take a hike, we're the one who takes the hike.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh,
So
man.
in
Yeah.
that regard, you have someone who is doing something, you can deal with it three ways. Number one, remain happy. No matter what they do, you remain happy. You can deal with it, okay? And so you can either do something like pay her share, or you can walk out too saying, well, if she's not going to pay, I'm not going to pay. Okay. I do not recommend that at all. I would recommend that you
Yeah.
say, okay, if she's not going to pay, we'll pay. Now, the question is, what happens next time?
Right.
If that happened this time, the likelihood is that she will never pay. I remember. Let me tell you a story. I had a friend. His name was Rick, and I invited him to a big dinner at not a fancy, but still an expensive place in San Francisco. This was, in fact, a psychological organization, and I was very honored to go to this particular, I think it was a long lunch, where people, very famous people like Tabby Kaler was there, and other high regard TA people. Now, Tabby, he thought that it would be about $25 a piece, and so he paid his $25 worth and then left. To where Rick was very conservative. He didn't have much money, and so he bought the cheapest thing on the menu, expecting to pay his share. And when it came time for everybody to pay, it wound up being that Tabby Kaler was the one who got the deal because it wound up being more than $25. This is back in the 70s, and so you can hear the prices from 1970s position. And I remember specifically saying, okay, Rick, I'll pay the difference for your share. And I got a great deal of regard for that. Everybody was very happy with that, and everybody chipped in to pay Rick's share, as well as paying the rest of Tabby Kaler's share too. And so it worked out happily. But it could have been a disaster. But I stepped up and I says, I'll pay for
Yeah.
'cause that's his lunch was like $6 or something like that, which meant that not only did I have to pay my own $30, I had to pay an extra 25 or 26 for 24 for and I didn't have that kind of money. And I was hobnobbing with people who were rich. But I invited, I'll pay it. Okay. So that may be the best thing for you in this situation. If you still have an opportunity, it may be over and in the past now. And in that case, forget about it. But if it's an
It's
ongoing,
over in the past, and this person's, because of their personality structure, most of the people don't even really communicate with this person anymore. So it kind of took care of it. That person weeded themselves out of the group on their own.
right. So she left the group because she tried to save a little money, and it had an effect on everybody in the group.
Well, yeah. And I guess, okay, so for me, what if, because this is true for me, what if I am the chronic over caretaker? And what I've actually been trying to do, and that is why I come to you with all these questions about discernment, because what if the problem for me was actually the opposite? What if the problem for me was I am the one to immediately say, I'll take care of it, I'll take care of it, I'll take care of it. And what I'm actually trying to do is to stop doing that so I could have more responsible people around me. More, So
Well, that one
that's
solved
kind of the
itself.
dilemma for me. Yeah, it did solve itself. Right.
It
Yeah.
solved
Yeah.
itself. Because she's not going to be around much anymore. Well, that was true about Rick. Rick was not going to be around this group. I mean, he was an outsider
Yeah. Yeah.
already, and it was my
That's what someone
responsibility.
told me. Yeah. Yeah.
Go
Someone
ahead.
told me those people are going to end up taking care of themselves and leaving the group. And I think, but what happens to me in the meantime, though, is that I get so spun out. I'm like, why would you, why? We've already had this conversation. I asked for honesty. You said you were going to do a certain thing and you didn't do that thing. And then I get angry. I'm not in any loving kindness because
So
I'm just
you
so
served yourself an
irritated.
angry sandwich, huh?
I did. Yes. Yeah. And then I got irritated at the other people for not saying anything to her either for the next 4 days when she just kept sleeping there for the next, so then I just get like, I'm just like, why can't we?
But you see that you saying, okay, I'll pay, that actually shows your generosity, makes you feel good, makes you feel
Right.
successful, and she's out anyway.
Right.
And it
Right.
also
Okay.
invites other people to pay up. That's what happened, by the way, at that restaurant scene in San Francisco, is that because I offered to pay, we wound up having no trouble at all, that other people chipped in also. And so the bill was taken care of just fine. I
So
have
I don't have to
another
look at it.
I have another example. This actually happened. It happened before I ordained. It was back in the 1970s when I was flying back to the United States, and there were 3 nuns taking care of 7 infants on that plane. They were overwhelmed with that. 3 nuns taking care of 7 infants. And so I walked up. This was in the flight, and the whole passenger group was angry at these kids making so much crying noise, and the nuns were doing the best they could. So one of them that was crying the most, I says, please give me that baby. And I held that baby and comforted that baby so that they could give the other 6 more attention. The next thing I know, some woman in the audience or in the flight, she comes and takes that baby from me, and so does several other women, to the point that so many of those babies were taken care of by the people on the flight that the nuns could actually rest a moment. If I had not taken that child, that whole flight would have been a disaster for the babies, for the nuns, and everybody on the flight. But one act of generosity evoked the generosity on the plane.
Yes.
By changing that around. I remember that. That's one of my old fond memories, is that I fixed a flight by taking care of a crying infant.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Okay. So that's the way of doing those kind of things, is go ahead and step up. You
Step
can
up
afford
even
it.
more. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I can. It was that chronic thing though of me being the over caretaker and learning how to get out of that seat. So I can see now that there's also that third part where I don't have to go into anger, because those people do eventually take care of themselves. They do. Even if it sucks for a while.
Well, thank you, Gigi, for sharing. I very much appreciate you. I'm glad that
Thank
you're
you,
on
me
our
too.
group now.
Me too. I am too. Yeah.
So
Thank
does
you.
anybody else have anything to say? All right, Mikey. Step right up, my friend.
Yeah, genuine generosity has a way of spreading itself around. So it's nice to see that, and thanks for the stories. And thanks, friends, for being here today. You all are welcome to stay on and continue chatting with one another about the noble Buddha Dhamma, share something about the practice. And welcome to come hang out here in the Hangout channel on the Dhamma Friends Discord whenever you'd like. It's a nice place to hang out and make friends. And yeah, just take it easy. So we invite you to check out the OpenSanghaFoundation.org website, where there are plenty of things to do, such as find some books by Buddhadasa, thoughts by Ajahn Dhammavidu. We also have a Sangha map and many other resources and toys to play with. You can also listen to these calls on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcasting platforms. And if you are watching this on YouTube, go ahead and check out the video description, where you can find a link to join the Dhamma Friends Discord. So yeah, remember, don't worry, be happy, take care, and take it easy.
One more thing that I'd like to add, and that is that if you're watching any YouTube videos, please leave a comment and a like. We have a lot of subscriptions. We got more than 10,000 subscriptions, but we don't get but one comment or so a day. So anytime that you're listening to a video, even because a lot of friends on Discord will go on YouTube to get a video to post on Discord. If you do that, then leave a comment saying, we've reposted this one on Discord because it's got these benefits. So leave a comment, because they say that YouTube uses those comments to help spread the Noble Dhamma. So thank you all. We'll see you now, but stay on, make some friends here. We've got a good group today. So bye-bye.
Dhammarato, thank you.
Bye-bye, Mr. Ben.
Thanks, Dhammarato.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Timo.
Bye, Dhammarato.
Bye-bye, Ivan. Bye-bye,
Bye
Samantha.
bye.
See you later.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Bye-bye.